Folks, we are back taking a look at yet another mock draft for the NFL. Today, it is Mel Kiper of ESPN. I don't need to tell you guys who Mel Kiper is. I assume all of you lovely folks know who Mel Kiper is by this point, and his mock draft of the first round coming up soon. It's his mock draft 1.0, I guess I should say. Mel Kiper, one of the most insider guys in ESPN, not just for the draft, but really anything in general. So let's go ahead and take a look at this mock draft. Now, of course, there's nothing really changing at the top. A lot of these mock drafts have pretty similar situations right now, so we're not going to be taking a look at that. We've already talked about that in other mock drafts already. We're just going to go all the way down here to pick number 19, where Mel Kiper has the Tampa Bay Buccaneers selecting defensive lineman out of Georgia Tech, Keion White. And let's go ahead and read the snippet from Mel Kiper, and I will take some pauses to give my thoughts and opinions on some of his points. So, the Bucs could be in for an offseason of change depending on what the NFL's greatest quarterback decides. Yeah, no kidding. Of course, that is obvious. We already know they'll have a new look offense with coordinator Byron Leftwich getting fired, and even with concerns along the offensive line, I'm looking at the end spot in Todd Bowles' 3-4 defense as their top need, with Akeem Hicks and Will Golston both hitting the free agent market. Now, that is up for a little bit of debate. Cornerback, they are losing Jamel Dean and Sean Murphy-Bunting. Edge rusher, they are losing Carl Nassib, Anthony Nelson, and Shaq Barrett is coming back from a really nasty Achilles injury. Those are also positions of need as well. Safety could even possibly be in there. Mike Edwards is going into free agency. Logan Ryan is going into free agency. Keanu O'Neal is going into free agency. So there are a lot of position groups that could be considered heavy needs that need starting caliber players. So of course, there are a lot of things that could shake out, but I would not 100% say. Of course, this is only one mock draft. Mel Kiper could change his mind in future mock drafts, and while I do agree that defensive end for this Todd Bowles 3-4 defense is a big need, you have Will Golston and Akeem Hicks going into free agency, much like what Mel Kiper points out here. There are also other positions of need with starting caliber needed replacements, cornerback, safety, possibly even the offensive line as well. Depending on what happens with some of those guys, there are certainly a lot of question marks. But back to the point here. Yes, 2022 second rounder Logan Hall will get snaps on one side next season. That is fair. But if they can add a starter here, why not do it? Well, because they may have more pressing needs at other position groups. Anyway, White dominated at Old Dominion before he transferred to Georgia Tech in 2021. He missed most of that season with an ankle injury, but had a dominant 2022 with 7.5 sacks and 57 total tackles. He's another inside-outside lineman who would bring some interior pass rush ability to Tampa. White will be at the Senior Bowl in Mobile, Alabama. I will be there as well, by the way. Expect a lot of content about that, and I know scouts are excited to see him up close. So this is an interesting situation, and you take a look here at the measurables for Keion White, 6'4", 267 pounds. And Mel Kiper does say, look, he's an outside guy who can play inside as well. He's got versatility, kind of like what Logan Hall was for the Buccaneers last draft whenever they took him. And to be fair, Keion White, I think this would be a solid pick for the Bucs. You see 19 tackles for loss in 2019, 3.5 sacks in 2019, 14 tackles for loss in 2022, 7.5 sacks in 2022, which was great. He actually used to play tight end in his first year in college, fun fact. So he has had to make that transition from offense to defense. But when I look at where I've seen defensive linemen get success with this Todd Bowles defense, is by having two really big guys up front. That's why it worked so well with Ndamukong Suh and Vita Vea, Akeem Hicks and Vita Vea. And I just don't know what that would look like if you have Logan Hall, who has very similar measurables to Keion White, and Keion White out there as your two starters with Vita Vea. I think that this defense can do some pretty interesting things if you just have two big hosses up there with Vita Vea and another big defensive lineman, and you then have a shifty inside-outside versatile type of defensive lineman. I mean, Will Gholston has had some career years the past couple of years since guys like Akeem Hicks, Vita Vea, and Todd Bowles have been a part there. And that's not a secret because you have two really big guys clogging up a couple of double teams like we saw multiple times with Ndamukong Suh and multiple times with Akeem Hicks, and guys are getting one-on-one situations and succeeding from that. So I don't hate the pick. Don't get me wrong, I don't hate the pick here, and I will be interested to see Keion White at the Senior Bowl, may even try to get a chance to talk to him. We'll have to wait and see, but I think if the Buccaneers were to get a defensive lineman, myself, personally, in my own preference, I would want a guy more so in the mold of an Akeem Hicks rather than, say, in the mold of a guy like a Will Gholston or a Logan Hall. I want a guy who can really eat up some double teams with his big size, like what we see with Akeem Hicks and Ndamukong Suh and Vita Vea. I just don't know if Keion White has that ability to eat up double teams like that just by pure pass rushing ability alone. Don't get me wrong, very great player, very great player. I just don't necessarily know if the fit would be there in Tampa Bay. I mean, take a look at, Tuli Tuipulotu. Words are hard. Anyway, you take a look at Tuli T out of USC. He's one of them big guys that could be a potential defensive end in a 3-4 at 290 pounds. Maybe eat up some of those double teams. Could be an interesting guy to consider in there if the Buccaneers do go defensive line. But also, as I've said in previous mock drafts, cornerback is also going to be a consideration. Safety might even be a consideration in there as well. Todd Bowles certainly does love his safety prospects, and I think it is far from a guarantee that the Buccaneers would go defensive lineman, as there's still a lot of things to shape up, and I think if they did, might want to get a big old hoss there up next to Vita Vea because they've had success with those combinations in the past. But anyway, folks, let me know your thoughts and opinions. Don't get me wrong, Keion White is a great player, and I think he will be a productive player and certainly worth a first-round pick, but is he the right fit for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers? Let me know your guys' thoughts and opinions. I would love to hear them. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. Hope you all enjoyed, and I will see you all in the next video or the next live stream. But until then, and as always, guys, goodbye for now, and go Bucs.